All right, we're gonna go lay a training track for Mudpie, our tracking dog, so we gotta get our supplies together. First stop is the refrigerator. If you don't keep shoes with deer feet in them in your refrigerator, you're weird. I'm not weird, you're weird. We gotta stop by the freezer. The first step is to be organized. Obviously, we're very organized around here. Gotta get the deer cape to mark the end of the track. Start letting it thaw. We're not going to put it out yet. We want to let it thaw so that there's a little bit more scent. So the way these shoes work is they've got a little cavity hollowed out, and we strap in these deer feet. These are actually deer that were shot and ran off a little bit. That way the pheromones that signal declining health in a deer were actually being produced by this deer, because that's the scent that the dog's going to be tracking. I don't ever really bring these shoes in the house or anything like that. I throw them in the fridge. That way we're not introducing any funky smells to compete with the deer. I wear rubber boots, and I try to keep them outside too. That way there's just less competing scent. Now, there's always going to be some scent. There's going to be scent off of my clothes, and there's so much stuff that a dog can smell that we don't even think about. That stuff's going to be out there, but that's why we're going to go lay the track and then let it age. That way any of that light scent that maybe where I brush up against a bush or something has time to dissipate, and the strongest scent remaining is going to be from the interdigital glands from those deer feet. Let's go. All right, so I got to get these shoes on. They go right over the top of my boots. Makes everything easy. You don't have to have these. They're not a must-have. Before I bought these, I used sticks, and I just hose clamped the lower leg onto the sticks, and I'd walk and stab them in the ground. Not necessarily stab them in the ground, but press them into the ground to leave that hoof scent behind. But this is for sure a lot easier. For one, it puts approximately the weight of a deer on them, so you're going to get about the same amount of ground contact. The other thing I'm going to bring with me are some tissues. Every so often I'll use these to mark the track. I'll just tear a little piece off and throw it down. Once it gets wet, it's going to dissolve. It's made out of the trees that are growing here anyway, so it gives me a little visual marker, so when I come back in a few hours with the dog, I can kind of see. And it's similar to like looking for blood to make sure we're on the right trail, because once I get in here, I'm not going to remember exactly where I walked later. The next thing I'm going to do, just to kind of give me some backup on that, is I'm going to start a track in Onyx Hunt. So I'm going to go in here and just start a new track. So boom, now we're tracking. So that's going to give me a little bit of a visual reference as well to know where I started and ended the track. So my plan is to walk straight in here, down through the pines a little bit, and then back out to the road. And I'm going to end the track at the road, mainly so that when I come back and I leave that deer cape, I don't have to walk into the woods to do that. I'll just leave it right there on the road and drive past it and start the track here. So I'm going to take and just tear a little piece of tissue, put a stick on top of it so it doesn't blow away, and I'm going to make this the hit site. So I'm going to stomp around just a little bit more, just to leave a little bit more scent to let the dog know, like, hey, something happened right here. Normally when you shoot a deer, especially with a rifle, and you get a good pass through, even if you don't, there's going to be particles of blood and hair and dander, and there's going to be in the dog's mind something different about this spot, and you'll watch them key in on that whenever you turn them loose and they start tracking. So I'm just stomping around a little bit, and now I'm going to start walking. that was a snake right there. All right, so right here I'm going to make my first 90-degree turn. And what I expect is that the dog is going to overrun this turn because we were walking this way, and if we had kept going, that's where we would have gone. So the dog's going to get here and have to think about which way this turn went. So right here I'm doing a 90-degree turn, and I'm going to walk right down this pine row. Now, I don't want to walk a long ways down this pine row because it's almost too suggestive to the dog to just keep going. So I'm going to go down here and jump into another pine row that's next to it to make sure that the dog's just not running the pine row and that he's actually continuing to track. Leave a little bit of extra scent here, like maybe it was a wound bed, or maybe the deer just stopped for a minute, which they will do. And then I'm going to keep going. I'm going to jump over to another pine row again. We've gone probably 50 yards down this one. Give myself a little bit of markers here. This is not meant to be a super challenging track for Mudpie. We're about a month away from bow season, so I want this to be fairly simple for him. I'm just trying to get him tuned back up, and we'll start to make things more challenging a little bit closer to bow season. But right now, this is confidence building, not just for the dog, but for me as well. I'm going to make a turn and go ahead and get out here to the road. It's not a terribly long track, maybe 300, 350 yards total. And then right here, I'm going to put the hide, the deer cape, just like right here in the grass. So I'm just going to draw a little line in the sand. So when I'm driving in later, I know where to stop and put the cape. And now, I'm just going to take the shoes off and carry them the rest of the way. And now it's 11:30. We'll come back at about 5 and run this track. So while we're waiting, I want to let that track sit a good 5 hours. But there's still plenty to do. I could organize this shed, but let's not be silly. We're not doing that. It's perfect the way it is. But what I am going to do is fix Katie's chicken water. So we're up to around, I don't know, 30 or 40 chickens now. We had this water, but it started leaking. We've got these little, I don't know what you call these, nipples. I don't like that word, but they started leaking. So I got some JB Weld and JB welded some little plastic pieces that I robbed off of something so that we could stop that leak. Now I've got to drill new holes and put new teats. I don't know. We got to put those in there. So while it's aging, I'm going to work on that. So I think everything's dry. We can put this thing back in the chicken run. We'll grab Mudpie. Just see how he does on that track we laid this morning. Look out, thirsty chickens. Got a little piece of copper on the inside. Helps cut down on the algae. I buried my water hose here. There we go. If you ever do a chicken run, plumb it. Having a hose inside the run does not suck. Exhibit A. Alright, well, that's that. We'll let that fill. It'll take 2 or 3 minutes for that to fill up. It's 35 gallons. So, it takes a couple minutes to fill up, but at last, that'll last them 2 months. I'm just gonna let him be out of the truck for a minute, get some excitement out. There's a running track right there. Yeah, there's a deer all over this place, but it doesn't really matter. He smells where I ended a track right there a few days ago. It doesn't really matter, these other deer out here, because they don't smell like what he's trained to look for. A healthy deer is really of no interest to him. Every now and then, if he's tracking and one jumps up in front of him, he'll run it for a while, but not for long. He's starting to find the beginning of the track on his own. Mudpie, find it. Find it. Find it. That's it, find it. My track with the deer track in it. Come on, find it. Find it, Mudpie. He saw something over there. Got distracted by something. Mudpie! Mudpie, come here! Leave it! Come here. Hey, find it. I don't know what he saw over there.
It looked like a squirrel.
Squirrels are definitely his weakness. Squirrels and rabbits. Find it. See, right now he's running it. Earlier when we came through, we came down this pine road, and sometimes he'll realize he's got a real easy path and he'll just keep going on that path, and he'll miss a turn. We'll see if he misses that turn where we started jumping over pine rows. Find it. See, right here is where we made our turn and he missed it. We went that way. But even though I know we're off of it, I gotta honor what he's doing so I can correct him. See how he's starting to look searchy. Mudpie, find it. Did you miss it? Find it. Find it. He's back on it now. See how his body language changed? See how his body language changed?
Yes.
We hopped over pine rows again somewhere up here. don't quite remember where. That's another reason I don't want to take my phone out and I don't leave breadcrumbs everywhere, because I start looking at my phone instead of watching my dog like I should be. He's starting to look back at me. I know we're off of it now. He's starting to look a little, starting to pick his head up. Find it, Mudpie. Hey, find it. I'm gonna call him back. I know he missed his turn. Part of it is I just remember cutting over somewhere back there. Another reason I'm following him is sometimes he doesn't have to be right on the track. He can be off of it a little bit, but the wind drift is going to keep him tracking. He's back on it now. Still on it. See if he misses this next turn. That way. Find it. So he stopped and started looking back at me. Find it. Mudpie. Hey. Find it. Find it. Not the way that we went, but the wind is drifting this way, so he's only about 20 feet off. He's back on it now. Good boy, Mudpie. Good boy.
There his tail goes.
Good boy, Mudpie. Hey, good boy. That's a good boy. That's a good boy. That's a good boy. There you go. There you go. Good boy. Yeah. So definitely not his cleanest run. He had to get kind of corrected a couple times. It's only his third track since the season went out, so he'll get back into the swing of things. Good boy, Mudpie. You can show it some.